Hi, everybody. Welcome to our workshop today, hosted by Flowly. If you're just settling in, get yourself in a comfortable position, get a piece of paper and pen, because it can be really helpful to jot down notes or any questions you might have for me at the end. I'll be sure to leave some time at the end for Q&A, so be sure to jot down those questions. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me a shout if you see it. Awesome. Great. So welcome, everybody. This is Flowly's introductory workshop, Become the Hero of Your Health Journey. We're really looking at science-backed techniques to reprogram your body's relationship to chronic illness today. Just to give everybody an overview for those who may be familiar with Flowly, for those of you who might be newer, Flowly is a platform for people with chronic illness who are really seeking to take control of their health. Our mission is to empower you to feel and live better each day. And the way we do that is we provide science-backed workshops, tools, and resources that really teach you how to manage your nervous system. I'm going to go over a lot of those fundamental techniques and science that we utilize here at Flowly, looking at it from a holistic sort of inside and out perspective about how you can get yourself into positions where you can feel more relaxed and comfortable and in control each day. So to begin our workshop, I wanted to state our intention for the day. One is we want to define what a healing journey looks like in Flowly. Two is share the science and behind the techniques that we actually utilize here at Flowly. And three, I actually want to leave you with tools that you can use today, starting this evening, tomorrow morning, where you can really start to implement these action items that we're going to talk about today. A little bit about our team. My name is Celine Chin, and I'm the founder of Flowly. I'm actually also principal investigators on an NIH-backed randomized controlled clinical trial investigating a medical device for the reduction of opioid usage, pain, anxiety, and more. I am joined by a fantastic engineering and design team from Yale, DreamWorks, Hyperloop One, as well as the scientific team that is really responsible for a lot of the studies and the science we're going to talk about today. It includes Dr. Mahajan, who's a chair of perioperative medicine at University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, former neuro-MR director at Duke, and a director of research out of USC. So these are a lot of the fantastic folks that have really guided a lot of the science and the work we do here today. All right, we're going to kind of jump into the meat of the workshop today. I really want to begin by asking you to take a moment and think about what is the question that led you to the workshop here today. I ask you this because our community welcomes members who we call heroes from all different backgrounds and health histories. We work with folks from chronic pain to living with lupus, various autoimmune disorders to generalized anxiety disorder, or just struggling with their sleep on a daily basis. And a really interesting thing is in working in the spectrum of people with different types of chronic illnesses to POTS, to pain, etc., we've really started to pinpoint that most of the heroes in our community have a pain point that they're trying to address. And that is a question that led them to working with Flowly or joining a lot of our events, workshops, or one of our memberships. And a lot of times when I say this word pain, people start to think physical pain, like an actual back pain or joint pain, etc., which is what a lot of our heroes do experience. But when I say pain, I want you to think about it in what we examine under the biopsychosocial model, which is a physical pain, as well as psychological pain. So things like anxiety, stress, trouble sleeping, depression, etc., and even a social pain. So feeling isolated or alone in your health journey. These three components are really incredibly critical because you cannot treat one without the other. When we think about a person's body, it does not work in silos. And that's why we find it really important, all the science guides us into really approaching a health journey through the biopsychosocial lens. And what is lucky for us today is that we have discovered one central aspect of our body, of which is able to control the physical, the psychological, and the social pains that somebody with chronic illness might experience. And that system is called your autonomic nervous system. Some of you may have a lot of experience talking about the ANS, the autonomic nervous system, some might not. So I'm going to give you a little refresher today because it is so key to the science that we are going to dive into. The autonomic nervous system, as you can see here, really is comprised of two main components. You have your parasympathetic, which is on the left side, and then you have your sympathetic, which is there on the right side, the red. Your parasympathetic system is what we call more commonly your rest, digest, and recovery mode. And your sympathetic nervous system is what we call more colloquially your fight, flight, or freeze mode. Now, they're both incredibly important because they control all these unconscious bodily reactions that you experience, things like heart rate, blood pressure, breathing rate, and even sexual arousal. And you can even see here in this graphic how much of your organ functions that your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system controls. Now, to dive into these two systems more, because they are going to be so key to what we're talking about, I want to start with the sympathetic, your fight or flight mode. I love this graphic here because it's a very visceral way of remembering your fight or flight mode. So imagine you are in the wild and a large tiger is jumping towards you. Immediately, your body knows, whoa, there's a threat. And so your body is going to turn on your fight or flight mode, your sympathetic nervous system. And the way it does that is it will actually increase your stress hormones. It will increase your heart rate, increase muscle tension, and even blood pressure. And all these unconscious physiological reactions in your body will be activated by your sympathetic nervous system so that you can fight, flight, or freeze from this incredibly real threat. This is your sympathetic system at work. It is incredibly important. It is helping you survive. And through decades and centuries of human evolution, it has been critical to our survival. So it is great when your fight or flight mode is really working for you. Now, after you have escaped the threat, your body is then able to turn on what we call the rest and digest mode, your parasympathetic nervous system. This is where your body starts to deactivate those stress hormones, decrease your heart rate, decrease your muscle tension so you can relax, and even decrease blood pressure. This allows you, back in that old survival days, to go by the watering hole, get a drink of water, digest what you've eaten and drank, and really allow your body to heal, recover, and rest, sleep. And as you can also see, this is incredibly important, right? Because your body does need that time to rest, digest, and recover. So this is your parasympathetic rest and digest mode at work. Now, you can't really have one system without the other. But in our day and age today, most of us are living in what we call a sustained fight or flight mode, right? This mode with the tiger and the running. And I'm going to go into a little bit about why, because it's really important as we start to toggle our different nervous systems and learn to take control of our body physiologically, to learn how to basically change our body's response to certain types of what we call threats. Now, there are two types of threats at which our body will actually activate fight or flight mode. The more common threat that you might think of, like the tiger, is we consider a physical threat. Physical threat can be things like a dangerous person, the tiger we were talking about, or even bacteria and parasites are considered physical threats. Now, when your body perceives a physical threat, it's able to create distance or escape or fight off that threat so that you can survive. Now, interestingly, today, with technology, with our much more modern society, we don't face as many physical threats day to day, but we face a lot of mental threats. And mental threats are things like memories, negative thoughts, insecurities, cognitive distortions. Most of us live in what we call a hyper alert, hyper vigilant state, which is we're constantly aware that we might get a text from our boss, an email from somebody we don't like. We might be confronted with a situation that is causing us anxiety. These are all creating mental daily threats in which our nervous system is constantly sensitized. So our nervous system is constantly responding by activating the fight or flight mode because our body is trying to fight for us. And what happens is something that was incredibly productive, our fight or flight mode for trying to fend off true threats, is now becoming counterproductive because it's constantly turning on for threats that are not addressed, that shouldn't be addressed by activating our stress hormone and increasing our heart rate, etc. And so the one thing to really note is that whether you are facing a physical threat or a mental threat, your body is responding in the same way. It is producing a real physiological and psychological impact on your body by activating your sympathetic fight or flight mode. Our body will actually start to produce pro-inflammatory proteins, leading to inflammation in our bodies, breakdown of tissue, and even creating symptoms of severe psychological disorders. This is our survival response actually working against us. And I have a whole other workshop where I talk about this in relationship to depression and sickness behavior, which a lot of our heroes have attended and found really helpful. But today I'm just going to give you this overview just to say, okay, we face these physical and mental threats on a daily basis, and our body is constantly responding by turning on our fight or flight mode, which is causing a true physiological impact in our body, creating real physical pain, real psychological pain, creating inflammation, or exacerbating whatever inflammation we might already have if you live with a chronic illness. As you can see, it becomes really critical then to learn how to address the threats and know how to respond to threats in a way that is actually going to help you and not be counterproductive. So that's why in our journey, we define the journey in 2 lessons. One is you will learn how to reprogram your body's response to threat. And the second is you will move past the pain in your life by focusing on creating the life you do want. I'm going to start with this first one because this is incredibly important. It's the place that we begin all our heroes at through workshops, through our virtual reality and biofeedback sessions you do at home, because it is all about learning how to activate your body's, instead of when you see a threat, activating your fight or flight mode, teaching your body to reprogram its response to threat by activating your rest and digest mode when you are faced with a threat. And that means that when you are faced with a threat, your body is able to actually turn on physiological functions, unconscious functions you otherwise wouldn't be able to control, that will lead you to relax, to recover, to sleep, to be able to address threats in the more appropriate manner. There are 2 methods in which we can examine looking at reprogramming your body's response to threat. The first one is called top-down approach, which is actually what more people have heard of. The top-down approach are things like meditation and mindfulness. It's really starting with your mind and your brain to then affect the rest of your body. This can be helpful, but what we found across the board in patients that we've worked with, especially those who live with a chronic illness, who have really constant or very severe pain flare-ups and anxiety, this second approach, called bottoms up, is often more helpful first. The bottoms up approach is basically meeting your body where it is at. So essentially, it's teaching you how to control your body physiologically first, to then affect how you think and feel mentally. In our workshops and our bubbles, which is our daily support groups and breather exercises and more, you actually use this bottoms up approach to apply to everything from improving your sleep, to understanding the science of journaling, how that can be a bottoms up approach, to learning about different physiological indexes like heart rate variability, which we're going to talk about today. I'm going to teach you today in this workshop one method to begin this process of using that bottoms up approach to control your body and essentially learn how to toggle your nervous system from that fight or flight mode to your rest, digest, and recovery mode. It's something that we actually train you to do daily in our Fully Change My Life membership, which uses virtual reality and biofeedback therapy, which you do at home. So the first thing we do in this journey is teach you to increase something called your heart rate variability. Your heart rate variability, which is called your HRV, you can think of as sort of like the key to toggling between your fight or flight mode and your rest and digest mode. The actual definition of heart rate variability is the variance in time between your heartbeats. Now, this is really important. It is not average heart rate. It is the variance in time between heartbeats. And this, most people actually don't realize that your heart rate does change from second to second. There is variability. So actually, if you take a moment now and feel for your pulse on your wrist or your neck, take a second and feel for your pulse. And notice how when you inhale, your heart rate should speed up. And then when you exhale, your heart rate should slow down. If it's doing that, that's a good thing. Your heart rate should speed up when you inhale and it should slow down when you exhale. And that's because your heart rate is speeding up to perform when you're inhaling air and then slowing down to recover when you're exhaling that air. HRV is one of the best measures of heart and overall health because it indicates how well your body is able to adapt to different situations, and also how well it can respond to what we were talking about earlier, threats. So I want to give you an example of HRV just to contextualize this even more for you. Let's say today you were an Olympic athlete, you're a runner, the epitome of your health, and you're going to go run a race. Well, when that race begins and you take off into your sprint, your heart speeds up. Your heart speeds up, the muscle tensions go up, your blood pressure goes up, you start sweating so that you're pumping blood throughout your body and you're really performing. Now, the second you slow down and you finish the race, your heart rate immediately drops. It goes down, your heart rate goes down, your muscle tensions go down, you relax, you start to recover. And that is your heart rate slowing down rapidly so that your body can enter its rest and recovery mode. You can see how important this is because it means that your heart rate can really increase to perform for you and then immediately decrease so that you can recover. Now, a lot of us are living in a sustained fight or flight mode, so our heart rate is constantly up, and we don't know how to actually do that recovery movement. Our heart rate is not slowing down rapidly when we need to exhale, when we need to sleep, when we need to heal or even digest. So what we actually teach you to do is increase your heart rate variability and slowly so that it is increasing for you to perform and then decreasing for you to recover. And there is a couple ways you can learn to increase your HRV so that you're toggling your nervous system from that fight or flight to that rest and digest mode. And I'm going to teach you today. There are a lot of factors that affect somebody's HRV, but there is one very consistent and science-backed way that you can really teach yourself how to control something that's pretty unconscious, like your HRV, but using something that is conscious. And that's something called paced breathing. If you've heard of paced breathing, send it into the chat. I know some people are familiar with breath work, have done a little bit of it, but for those who are not familiar, paced breathing simply means breathing at a certain rate of inhale and exhale. So it could be like 5 seconds and then 3 seconds exhale, or the vice versa, 3 seconds inhale, 5 seconds exhale, at whatever rate at which you are trying to optimize for. Now, paced breathing is just a general description, but there is one type of breathing that you can do at which you will increase your heart rate variability basically on command. And it's something called your resonant frequency breathing rate. Your resonant frequency breathing rate is an individual breathing rate for each person at which they're most able to increase their heart rate variability and be able to take control of their nervous system. Very interestingly, as an average across all humans, that resonant frequency breathing rate is 6 breaths per minute. So that means 5 seconds inhale and 5 seconds exhale. Again, this is an average, but if you take away nothing from this workshop, I want you to remember that the average breathing rate at which you are able to increase your HRV across all humans is 6 breaths per minute. 5 seconds inhale, 5 seconds exhale. Notice I said average. That's because everybody has a single specific resonant frequency breathing rate at which they're most able to control their own nervous system and their own HRV. In Flowly's Change My Life membership, where we send you a VR headset and a heart rate sensor, in your first week, we actually calibrate and assess that resonant frequency breathing rate that is unique to you. So I know for myself, it's 7.3 breaths per minute, and it can really range from each person. And it's incredible because you really start to harness a superpower you have within yourself, and you can then apply it to your life outside of Flowly, and then really start to take control of your nervous system with that bottoms up approach. So because today we're not able to know everybody's unique resonant frequency breathing rate, I want to do a brief breathing exercise with you together using the 6 breaths per minute. We're just going to do 2-3 minutes of this very briefly. And I'm going to share with you some breathwork tips that are really helpful for optimizing not just your health in general, but especially your heart rate variability. So take a moment, get yourself comfortable. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, feel the ground beneath your feet or wherever you're sitting. And then just have your eyes a soft focus on the screen so you can follow the guide. Here we go. As you take your first inhale and exhale, keep in mind this is 6 breaths per minute. So it might be close to your own resonant frequency rate or might be a little off, but just for today's exercise, slowly align yourself with the graph. As you take your next inhale and exhale, I want you to think about inhaling through your nose and then also exhaling through your nose. This is something called nasal breathing. And for a lot of people, they've been taught to breathe in through their nose and breathe out through their mouths. Your mouth was actually not designed for optimized breathing, whereas your nose is. And so we at Flowly really teach you to engage in nasal breathing in and out of your nose so that you can optimize your oxygen intake, regulate air temperature coming in through your lungs, and you can even filter out bacteria and germs better in and out of your nose. In your next exhale, I want you to feel your stomach start to contract toward your spine. And when you inhale, your stomach expands. This is the beginning of doing something called diaphragmatic breathing, of which we have several worlds in Flowly. We teach you step by step how to do, but it's incredibly healthy for really learning how to optimize your breath work. Last thing I would say here is I want to share a few community values that are really important to our members and heroes. We believe an individual's identity is more than their illness. We believe in every human's inherent right to take care of their health. We believe medication is sometimes necessary, but is not the whole answer. And we believe healing does not mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our lives. As you take your last few breaths here, I want you to notice the temperature of the air coming in through your nose and also out through your nose. We're going to take our last inhale here together. And then last exhale. Awesome. So a lot of times as you kind of get yourself back into reality here, people start asking me here at this point, how Flowly teaches you heart rate variability. So I wanted to share with you because we do a double-sided approach. We do workshops and small support groups like this where we teach you different techniques. But one really important part of the journey for a lot of heroes is actually engaging in the virtual reality experiences, of which this you're about to see has gone through randomized controlled clinical trials, case studies, and more. In Flowly, when you do the Change My Life membership, we actually send you a kit to your home, and then you do sessions. To actually start a session, you clip on a heart rate sensor that goes on your ear or finger. You slip your phone into a lightweight VR headset, and then you enter these immersive and beautifully relaxing worlds, at the core of which you actually see your real-time heart rate and heart rate variability. And so we're teaching you through a unique calibrated breathing guide how to start to control your heart rate in real time so that you can shift your body from that fight or flight mode to that rest and digest mode. And then as you do better and better, the world changes around you. More flowers grow, more lights light up, and will tell you you've entered flow state. After a 5 to 20-minute session, depending on what you choose, you can actually check your progress in your data portal. And then briefly, I want to share some of our heroes with their experience.
I would like to say that Flowly empowered me how to manage my pain. Flowly empowered my mother to manage her pain. We're no longer on pain medication.
Well, I want you. I can't say it. Excuse me. I just love you guys. I mean, it's been dramatic. Flowly has changed my life. I've become a much calmer person, and I just love it.
So I'll share briefly that last hero. His name is Dennis, and he actually uses Flowly in the evenings in bed to help him sleep throughout the night. And this is the way a lot of our heroes use the VR biofeedback experiences. They actually do it in bed, leaning back on their pillows very comfortably, either last thing before they go to sleep or first thing in the morning. So that's a really good example, and he always gets me there. Okay, we're going to move into the second part of the journey. This is really focused on moving past the pain in your life by focusing on creating the life you do want. It sounds a little woo-woo, but this is all based on over 30 years of peer-reviewed studies in neuroscience and psychology. And it's all to do with the neural pathways that are in our brains. So some of you may have heard about neural pathways in the brain, but just know that our brain is made of millions of these pathways, of which determine both our psychological, but also our physiological responses to a lot of triggers and stimuli. When you start to entrench your neural pathways in wired responses to pain, and for many people with chronic illness, for years and years of having symptoms of waking up in pain or not being able to sleep or having anxiety, you have very entrenched pathways of which are responses to certain things that you experience each day. What the problem this creates is that whenever you do face one of those physical or mental threats we're talking about, because you have lived with these neural pathways for so long, you will always default to certain pain responses of which activate your fight or flight mode in your body. So really, when I talk about focusing on creating the life you do want, it's more about creating new neural pathways in your brain that are centered on positive, comfortable, or even neutral responses, of which will activate your rest and digest modes so that you can physiologically heal, recover, and digest. That's why that first lesson about reprogram your body's response to threat is so critical, because actually by doing that, you're spending more and more time in your rest and digest mode. Just like in those Flowly VR sessions, you're spending the entire time in your rest and digest mode so that your body actually can start to learn it like a muscle memory and start to rewire its response to certain threats. A really famous story that a lot of neuroscientists like to use about neural pathways and the power of it is with the story about a Cherokee brave and his grandson. And so one evening, a Cherokee brave is telling his grandson about a battle that goes on inside all people. It is a battle of two wolves. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, self-pity, ego, and more. And the other wolf that lives in us is all the good, the hope, the peace, the love, the joy, the humility, empathy, faith, and more. So the grandson thinks about this and goes, if all of us have these two wolves in each of us that are battling, which wolf wins? And the Cherokee brave says very simply, the wolf that wins is the one that you feed. This is to say that our brain is made of millions of neurons, and these neurons form these neural pathways we talked about that control our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors, of which have real physiological and psychological impacts on our body. When we practice certain behaviors over and over again, these neurons wire together and become stronger. So you can decide through your behavior and training of your body over time which neural pathway you want to actually strengthen. So which behaviors and actions and responses you are strengthening in your body, which wolf you're actually feeding to create a stronger neural pathway associated with comfortable, good, or even just neutral experiences. In this way, you can actually reprogram your body's response to threat by activating your rest and digest mode and then strengthening that neural pathway of responding to threats by responding with something positive and recovery based in your body. You might notice in both these two core learnings, you're ultimately gaining more control of your brain, but even more importantly for most in the beginning is control of your body. So your actual autonomic nervous system running throughout your body. You are learning a bottoms up approach to becoming more of an agent of how you feel every single day. And I want to leave you with one last thought, which I talked about briefly, but just to emphasize that healing does not mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our lives. And I really love this quote because we work with so many patients that have been through severe trauma, that have lived with pain for 15 plus years, that has had POTS for decades and cannot control their symptoms and feel like they do not have agency in their own lives anymore. What we are doing is teaching you physiologically how to control something as specific as your breath work, as your heart rate variability, to then adjust your nervous system each day so that you can learn how to spend more time in a safe and recovery-based zone physiologically and psychologically. The last thing I will add on here is that in the Flowly platform, in this bid of really controlling your nervous system, we look at it from the in and the out perspective. So the inside is using the virtual reality and biofeedback sessions at home, which are teaching you literally how to control the inside of your body, right? That nervous system regulation. We also have breath work exercises we call breathers that are 2D in the app for when you're on the go. And then we also look at it from the out perspective. So that psychological pain, that social pain that we want to address about also to do with your nervous system through daily support group meetings, of which have different focuses, health seminars, physician and therapist led workshops, and even goods that have to do with your health. You can also text or call a Flowly health guide, which is an actual person to help you with any of these things above. In our Change My Life membership, you're able to access all of the above and including the kit. It's $45 a month where we actually send you the kit and you get to keep it even after you cancel the first month. And we also have an annual plan that's 50% off, which is what most people opt to do is the annual plan, and access to all the expert-led workshops as well. If you want to begin somewhere smaller, which is the community membership, you get access to all the daily support group meetings, the health seminars, the goods, the breathers, which you can do in the app for when you're on the go. That's just $5 a month to get you introduced into the community. A lot of our bubbles and workshop topics are super fascinating. We have the evolution and science of depression, art therapy, breath work together. We have Dr. Jamie Arnoff leading a mental health for the entire family workshop, a great, amazing trauma specialist addressing micro trauma workshop, sleep better and through the night, music therapy, and many, many more. And this is our contact information. If you ever have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are a small but mighty team based in California where we're one of those few apps and platforms where you can talk to a real human person to help guide you. And we work with heroes everywhere from, kids to people in their 20s to our oldest heroes in their 90s and does VR more than their grandkids 3 times a day. So we've really tried to make this experience as accessible as possible and always taking more feedback. Awesome. I hope that was helpful in any little way, from the nasal breathing tips to heart rate variability to breathing 6 breaths per minute and then finding out your own resonant frequency breathing rate. But I want to end it off with a bit of a Q&A because I can see a bunch of questions popping up here now. And then, of course, if you have any more questions, please let us know. Kimberly on my team will also be sending a discount link for all memberships that you can apply. So I'll go one by one real quickly. How long does it take for the kit to arrive when I sign up for my Change My Life membership? So it should only take about 3 to 5 business days to arrive to you. And then once you get the kit, you can get started right away. And again, you can actually call our health guide to help onboard you. So that's a really great tip. I always say, if you want a human person guiding you through that process, we got you. You can text or call us. What is the pricing of the memberships? So for the annual plan, it's 50% off of the monthly plan, which is for the Change My Life, $45 a month, including the kit that you get to keep, the virtual reality headset and the sensor. And then the community membership is $5 a month. We also have a family plan. So it's one kit for the family, and then you all have your own accounts and your own data. And keep in mind that the data is a big component people are very interested in, because you can actually see your own physiological progress as you do more sessions and be able to understand, hey, am I actually improving the control of my nervous system? Someone is asking, how many sessions do you recommend doing a week or a day? So everything we are doing with the biofeedback, so that collecting that heart rate, teaching you how to control it, that's therapy, even VR, since the 80s that has been applied and used, but historically very expensive and hard to access. We're making it more accessible for you to do at home. I say all this to say that there is a lot of clinical protocol around these therapies, which is the recommendation typically is about 3 to 5 sessions a week. And each session somewhere around 10 to 15 minutes or 10 to 20 minutes is optimal. However, I will tell most people that I think the best way to get started is to do daily 5-minute sessions, just to get your body into the ritual of actually going through the nervous system regulation in the sessions. Even 5 minutes a day in the beginning can really help you build that training of your body, because essentially what you're doing is you're actually training your own heart rate variability and improving it over time. It's kind of like a gym for your entire body and mind. When do you recommend using it? I would say most people actually use it in the evenings, which is what I do. And we have a lot of evening worlds. Like I love Underwater World because it's so blue and comforting at night. We have one called Comfort's Realm, which has a different horse in each session, most of which takes place in the evening as well. So that's the way a lot of people do is in bed in the evenings. And then we do have a lot of heroes that tell me they will also do sessions when they know a flare-up is coming or they can sense a flare-up coming. What is another question? Am I able to send this registration link to other people? Yes, of course. So this intro workshop is completely free. Anybody can sign up. So please feel free to share this registration link with family and friends who you think might find it helpful. All right, I'm going to answer one last question here because we're running up on time. The question is, does sleep affect HRV? Yes, incredibly. Sleep is one of the biggest things that affects your heart rate variability and your nervous system. And so that's why we have workshops about sleep, and Flow, we talk about sleep incessantly. And that is also why a lot of our members and heroes do use Flowly before they go to bed. And even in our clinical trials with our study participants, most people as a feedback told us that they did it in bed before they went to sleep. Because when you activate your rest and digest mode before bed, you're actually enabling your body to sleep through the night, but also with higher quality sleep. Incredible. All right, we're going to wrap it up there today, but remember that you can always reach out to us with any questions you might have. We're happy to help serve you. And I really want to thank you for being present with me here today. My name is Celine. This is Flowly. If you have any questions, reach out. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care.